Good day! Today we will be presenting our research paper and it's entitled The Course Feedback Survey of Culinary Arts and Kitchen Operations Students on the Implementation of Outcome-Based Education for the school year 2018 to 2019. So for today's agenda, we will be discussing the introduction and objectives, and we will also be explaining the outcomes of the research paper. Then for our introduction, student feedback is an important part of improving our teaching and courses at the university, and it's how to find out what's working for the students and what they think could do better. However, culinary arts is a course designed to introduce students to fundamental food preparation terms, concepts, and method in culinary arts where laboratory will parallel classwork. So outcome-based teaching and learning focus not on what the teachers intend to teach, but rather the emphasis is on what is the outcome from the learner of the teaching is intended to be. So, in other words, the outcomes determine the curriculum content, the teaching methods, and the strategies, and the assessment process. So it is important for us to know the feedback of culinary arts and kitchen operations students on the implementation of outcome-based education in terms of relevance of the course organization, the intended learning outcomes, the teachers and teaching learning activities, the assessment, the learning environment, as well as the counseling. So outcome-based education is a system that makes what and whether the students learn successfully is more important than how they learn it, according to Lawson and William 2007. So outcome-based education is a process that follows the concept of constructive alignment, and according to Biggs and Tanks 2007, a learning environment that supports the learning activities towards achieving the intended outcomes. So in expanded opportunity, which refers to the opportunity given to students to demonstrate the ability. The concept of expanded opportunity provides resources such as time, method, operational principles, performance, standards, and curriculum structure, and also the attainability as a guide in expanding students' opportunities. So it promises high level of learning for all students based on the achievement of clearly ambiguous outcomes with consideration to the appropriateness of each learner's development level and assuring active and experience-based learning according to Ildev and Shatakumari 2013. So the opportunity is it will lead to greater efficiency and also quality in teaching and learning. For the rationale, why there is a need for the study. So the researchers were motivated to conduct this study on the student feedback on the implementation of outcome-based education for the students semester 2018 to 2019. This research intends to benefit the culinary arts and kitchen operations students by serving as a tool to give information and feedbacks of students regarding their learning outcomes. For the objectives of the study, this study aims to assess the implementation of outcome-based education in the culinary arts and kitchen operation, and specifically, it will determine the feedback of students of BS Kako on the implementation of outcome-based education in terms of relevance of the course organization, the intended learning outcomes, teachers and teaching learning activities, the assessment, the learning environment, and counseling, and propose an action plan or activities based on the results of the study.
So here is our questionnaire. It is composed of 6 school-related factors, and these are the relevance of the course organization and intended learning outcomes, teachers and teaching learning activities, assessment, learning environment, and the 6th is the counseling that are intended in the objectives of the study. There are also number 1 to 4 that will determine the ranking of the respondents if they are 4, strongly agree, 3, agree, 2, disagree, and 1, strongly disagree in the questions that are written. And these questions will help us to come up with the aims that we are looking for. In general, these questionnaires are effective mechanism for efficient collections of certain kinds of information that we needed in this research.
Now, let's discuss the review of related literature. This chapter indicates the ideas relevant to the present subject relating to the other studies and is briefly discussed to provide the foundation of the proposed study. In order to develop a new method and procedures, careful review of literature and studies must be done for the development of the study. Outcomes-based education is an approach to education in which decisions about the curriculum are driven by the learning outcomes that the students should display at the end of the course according to Davis 2003. Concerns that the education system cannot adequately prepare students for life and work in the 21st century have prompted people across the country to explore new ways of designing education. In several states, educators and policymakers are attempting to change the way we measure the effectiveness of education from an emphasis on traditional outputs, such as course credits earned and hours spent in class, to results or outcomes. Tucker 2004 states that outcomes-based education, or the OBE, is a process that involves the restructuring of curriculum, assessment, and reporting practices in education to reflect the achievement of high-order learning and mastery rather than the accumulation of course credits. Killen 2000 defines two basic types of outcomes. The first includes performance indicators, often measured in terms of tests results, completion rates, post-course employment, and so forth. The second one is less tangible and usually expressed in terms of what the learners know and are able to do or are like as a result of their education. Proponents of OBE assumes that there are many ways to arrive at the same results. OBE is currently favored internationally in countries such as Canada, South Africa, New Zealand, and United States.
To find out the course feedback of culinary arts and kitchen operations students on the implementation of outcome-based education for the year 2018 and 2019. The researcher used a descriptive approach to collect data using researcher-made questionnaire to assess and explain the efficacy of OBE implementation in the university. Descriptive design is the most simplistic design consisting necessarily of factual content without any connections to abstraction. A descriptive study design can seek to generalize result from a sample group to broader the target population in a cross-sectional survey, and it can also beneficial for merely stating design profile of the participants being studied. The common characteristic of the descriptive design is that there is only one sample with no comparison group according to Omer. The target participant of this research, entitled Course Feedback Survey of Culinary Arts and Kitchen Operations Student on the Implementation of Outcome-Based Education, is comprised of 28 graduate students of Bachelor of Science in Culinary Arts and Kitchen Operations students in year of 2018 to 2019.
Data gathering instrument. The questionnaire of this research were taken from LPU students, which is the questionnaire based on the LPU mandates of tracing university graduates. This questionnaire was modified to suit the needs of the College for Culinary Arts graduates. The research instrument focused on course feedback survey in outcome-based education. Data gathering procedure. The respondents were traced through mobile telecommunication devices like email and Facebook. The conducted culinary arts graduate and practicums were those who accomplished the questionnaire in their respective establishments. Interview was also conducted using Google Documents to gain additional information regarding the course feedback survey of culinary arts and kitchen operations students on the implementation of outcome-based education.
Data analysis. The following tools were used to interpret the data that were treated by statistical tools such as percentage, weight, mean, and ranking. Frequency and percentage distribution was used in interpreting the profile and course feedback of the culinary students. Weighted mean and ranking were utilized to analyze the respondents' school-related factor that contributed in meeting the standards of the implemented outcome-based education. Ethical consideration. To comply with moral complementation in conducting this research, all respondents will be educated through online understanding course of action to required portion in this research. The participants must able to create an informed choice as to whether they will take part within the assessment or not. The participants are free to pull back their cooperation at any time without adversely affecting on their inclusion in the future administration or the current program and connection with any of the analysis or inquire about bodies included. The researchers must only assess those components that are of pertinence to the program initiative being conducted. The information or the data that will be gathered will remain private and will be connected in research purposes.
We are the Group 2. Thank you for listening and have a nice day, everyone.